Alright, this video is about my new defense system that I recently introduced. It's called MyDiametrical defense, aka Dia Defender. And this should not be confused with the perk defense, which starts with E4, D6, D4, knight F6, knight C3, G6. Although these are similar moves that are made, but this is not the continuation. It doesn't start D6, knight F6. It should not be confused. My diametrical opening defense should not be confused with, though, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this name, Robach, the R-O-B-A-T-S-C-H defense. And it begins with E4, G6, D4, Bishop G7. Again, those two moves are part of the opening, but that's not the continuation. That's not how it starts out. My diametrical defense, aka Dia Defender, it begins as follows. D4, black will go D6, and white will go E4, and black will go knight D7. Now the moves that white makes, white may not make E4, D4, D4, E4, 1 and 2. It might throw a knight move in there, a flank move with a pawn. It can do quite a few different moves, even C4. But the moves for this defense will begin D6 and knight D7. So it's almost universal as far as how it can what you're trying to do is response to white's moves. So the D6 and knight D7, that's what characterizes this. That's what sets this apart from other openings. And like I said in the original video, this opening hasn't been played on a championship level, grandmaster level, not more than 20 times in 100 and I don't know, since 1886. So I'm playing it a lot on ICC, and I'm scoring pretty good with it, and I'm still learning some ins and outs, because people come up with different defenses attacks against this defense. The knight on D7 is the defender of the day. And this move order, like I said, has no ECO number or classification that I've been able to find. And the normal or desired following moves or continuation for black would be, in the ideal situation, black would want to begin with the very first move would be D6 for black. The second move would be knight D7. The third move would be G6. The fourth move would be H6 or Bishop G7, depending on the move that white has made. Now, if white has a bishop on C4 and a knight on F3, then you want to go H6 with the fourth move as opposed to Bishop G7. Because if you don't, if you go G7 instead, white can sacrifice the bishop on the F7 and end up checking your king and putting following that check with the knight on G5. The knight can jump in the E6 and run the queen around a little bit, and then even go in that corner and take the rook on A8. So that knight would be lost, and then you'd have to evaluate the position from there. Black, I don't mind that position, but that's not what I don't play to get into that position. But I don't mind that position because I'll take those two pieces in that pawn, a couple of pawns I'm going to get back, for the two pawns I'm going to give up in it. So yeah, that can also work out too, but it's better to avoid that altogether until you become really good at that, and then if you get into that position, you will be tricking them into it. So again, the first move would be D6, second move would be knight D7. These are for black. Third move would be G6, and the fourth move would be H6 or Bishop G7, depending on the position of the vulnerabilities on F7. Alright, so I'm just going to show a few moves from this game that I played on ICC, just to give a visual of it. He Empire Chess went D4, and I've created this opening to play against D4, because I usually play the Sicilian against E4, but I've been playing diametrical, my diametrical defense, D defender against E4 as well. But okay, so Empire Chess went D4, I went D6, they went C4, and I went Knight D7. So this is, again, this is the move order. This is what I'm talking about, any of the continuations that white can make. And white came with E4 after that. And there's G6. Then that's Knight F3. Now, normally, the bishop move follows Bishop G7, because what I'm trying to do, I don't really want to go C5 or E5, which both of these are valid moves, but they start following some normal lines into the king's Indian, and we're not trying to do that. We're trying to get it out of normal lines. We're not trying to follow the normal lines, because this defender, it plans on jumping to F8 and then G6. These pawns, white's gonna castle. This knight on G8 wants to go to F6. This F pawn wants to stay here. F7. That pawn wants to stay there and guard E6. Okay, that's what he wants to stay there and guard E6. This is it's very important in this opening. You want to try to keep this pawn here. You want to castle. You want to have this knight that's on D7. This is the D defender of the day. Wants to go to F6, and after these pawns have moved forward to H6 and G5, then this knight goes from F8 on here to G6. So these knights side by side, bishop, castle, you have your rook on E8. It creates a pretty formidable defense, a wall against any attack for the black king. The black king is going to be pretty safe. And what it does is, once this knight, be a defender, once this knight starts on B8, goes to D7. There's a lot of moves with this knight, but it's a reason you're doing this. And also what's happening is you're making these waiting moves, and you're making all this shuffling around with this knight, allowing white to overextend himself, his or herself, and commit unto certain actions, And sometimes it's beneficial to make a pawn, 1 or 2 pawn moves over here, but for the most part, you can play on the king's side. And like I say, the knight on D7, then they go to F8, then to G6, where it's looking at H4 and F4, and these pawns will be going forward, looking to be sacrificed. Sometimes people get a little antsy and they'll exchange a knight for both of these pawns here, the H and G pawn here on G5, to get this bishop sitting here, and that's fine. If that's what they choose to do, that's just fine. And but sometimes you can, exchange these pawns or even sacrifice them to open up the files, because you're gonna have pieces jumping in here for the attack, and this rook won't be over here anymore, it'll be in castle. And what's gonna happen too is you're gonna find out that people, after they get beat often enough with this, they're gonna start getting into the same position, fianchetto on their bishops and castling queenside. And again, you got your bishop on the long diagonal, and your king is safe, and you can start probing the position, seeing how you can attack. So yeah, this is my diametrical defense, D defender, that knight, and this is like I say, something that I put together, that I developed, and then I'm saying is worthwhile. I'm saying it's a valid defense against E4 or D4. Alright, so see you on ICC, and maybe you'll try to open it out and see how it works for you. Peace.